both know the feeling. You don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to talk to anybody. A day turns into 2 days and then a week. And before you know it, you start spiraling out of control. Well, the good news is that ruts don't last forever. Now, I'm not a professional therapist or psychiatrist, but these are the tips that help me get myself motivated when I'm not motivated, and that I've used to motivate many of my friends when they're down. I'm gonna share with you the same advice I would give any of my friends and family, and hopefully it'll help you too. Tip number 1 is Newton's first law of motion. An object at rest tends to stay at rest. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. And so if you are at rest, find a way to start moving. Because here's what happens. Action creates inspiration, which creates motivation. And it's a fortuitous loop that helps you. So let's say you need to write an essay and you can't get started. That's fine. Just write, it doesn't matter what. Set a timer for 30 minutes, and as long as your fingers are moving, you're winning. It can be complete and utter nonsense. It doesn't even need to be English. Start by writing a word and then writing a sentence. Don't try to have it make any sense. Don't try to have it be quality. Just word vomit onto the page. And surprisingly, you'll find that if you do this for long enough, inspiration will strike and you'll succeed in moving in the right direction. Concept number 2 is it's always important to reward yourself, even for the small wins. Most of us end up being way too critical of ourselves, especially those of us who are predisposed to ending up in a rut. Often the reason you end up in a rut is because you are mean to yourself in your own head. If I think about my life and my number 1 superpower, it's that I'm just extremely optimistic about everything. And I forgive myself if I set a goal and I don't hit it. Most people have an internal monologue going on in their brain. And my internal monologue is extremely positive all the time. I'm just constantly building myself up in my brain. So what I encourage you to do is build the ability to be super positive about yourself in your own brain. So that means that if I hit a bad workout in a day, I don't focus on the fact that the workout was bad. I focus on, way to go for, even though you didn't feel like it, you went to the gym today, Cliff. Way to go for trying. Amazing, you're keeping the motivation going, etc. That's what your internal monologue should be like. Give yourself that gift. Principle number 3 is figure out how to manage your energy and how to manage your time. So one really good way of doing this is the Pomodoro technique. You work for 25 minutes, you give yourself 5 minutes off, you work for 25 minutes, you work for 5 minutes off. I've also heard it said, 52 minutes on and then the rest of the hour off. In your work, what is the thing that gives you energy? Often people will answer, I love working with people. I love solving hard problems. I love coding. For me, it's like a video game. And those are the things that I look for. You can also ask, what are the things that take away energy from you? I hate minutia, I hate writing. So I remember I used to file a lot of patents. That took a lot of energy from me because it was a very inefficient system. If you do something that you love, that gives you energy, not only does it not take away energy, it builds up your energy over the day. So if you love coding and you spend all day coding, it gives you energy to then do something else that you don't like as much. If, like me, you love speaking and you spend all day speaking, it gives you energy to go and do the things that might take a little bit more energy away from you. So identify what are the things that give you energy and focus on those things first. In 1906, there was an economist named Vilfredo Pareto who realized that 80% of the peas in his garden came from 20% of the pea pods. And the more you look in the world, the more it's very clear that the 80-20 principle is true really throughout. And it'll be true for you as well. So most likely, 80% of the output in your life comes from 20% of the time that you spend on it. So figure out what is the 20% of your time that has the minimum effective dose that creates real high amounts of value, and focus on those things. Being in a rut is less so tied to being inefficient as it is tied to being unhappy. Because the energy inside you is what governs how motivated you are to do something. So whenever I'm in a rut, the first thing I do is I start tracking my happiness 3 different times a day on a scale of 1 to 10. I'll wake up in the morning and say, okay, my happiness is like a 6 out of 10 right now. And then I'll write why. And I'll typically do it with emojis. So, if I was singing that day, I'll put a microphone. If the dog took a poop in the living room, I'll do a little poop emoji, whatever it might be. And I'll do this in the middle of the day and I'll do it before I go to sleep. And over time, you start realizing, oh, here are the things that keep consistently being in the place that show why the energy is being removed, or the things that are giving me energy. And I'll try to make sure that I have more of the things that give me energy and less of the things that take away energy. Rule number 1 is track your happiness. Rule number 2 is track your time. If I find that I'm not being efficient, what I do is I make a new Google Sheet 24 hours in a day, and I will mark in 30-minute increments what I did in that time. And then at the end of the week, after I've tracked all this time, I will look back and see how efficient I was during that week. And I'm looking for really effective time. So learning about SEO is not as high value as implementing SEO. And so I remember I did this once, and I realized that the actual really efficient time in that week was 17 hours. Then I was really disappointed in that. And the second thing I realized is in that week, I spent 24.5 hours helping other people, which I love to do. I do it a lot, but I was doing it too much. to the point where I was not able to prioritize the thing that was important to me. Okay, so to summarize, if you're stuck in a rut, I know it's annoying, but you can get out of it. And here are the tools that I recommend. Number 1, progressive overload. Consistently try to improve your progress. Number 2, reward yourself for the small wins. Most importantly is the mental game in your mind. You're like a golfer. How you execute in the game is less important than your mind about it. And there is this fortuitous cycle, which is action leads to inspiration, which leads to motivation. So just start by doing stuff, and that's how you can maintain your brain. And lastly, and most importantly, track your time and track your happiness. You're a human, which means you have the ability to opine on what's going on, to really debug the process of your own brain and emotion. Take advantage of it. It's free. And hey, if you have a friend who's stuck in a rut, number 1, call them. Remind them that you love them. Be there for them. Show them that you can help them, and send them this video. Maybe some of the techniques can help them out as well. If you like this content, please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, leave a like, and let us know how you intend to get out of your rut, what your goals are, and which one of these concepts you think are new to you and would be useful. And hey, if you have friends who you think are stuck, write down below in the comments how you were able to help them. Thanks for stopping by again. Happy listening. And there's a lot more good content in the pipeline, so stay tuned.